Might as well be. Alright, hola peeps, welcome back to welcome back to Soul Mechanics for this week's reality check. This is one we've been intending to do for a while. We have in the atheist corner, weighing in at 816,000 subscribers, a heavy hitter, Jaclyn Glenn, whom we've addressed before, and in the Christian / fanatic, cultist, anti-theist corner, we have weighing in at 127,000 subscribers, the somewhat infamous Paul and Morgan channel, hosted by Morgan. And what we're going to do here is set a precedent by addressing one of the older videos that we had spoken to before. We mentioned this earlier on in another video that we made, and we wanted to do a response to this just for comical effect, really, and to address this kind of rivalry that's occurring between the two of them. But as it happens, we're doing it now because recently a video was made, well, a series of videos were made between the two channels addressing what became more of a serious kind of a serious matter as regards this rivalry that we feel is actually very important and we'd like to speak on ourselves. I should like to note that I did allow for the tuber in question that we're going to be, I suppose it could come across that we're sort of, I don't want to say attacking, but
it might be a little one-sided.
The tuber that we're addressing more prominently here, I did give her a chance to explain her side, which she did not do, so that's, sorry, madam. We had to get this done. Anyways, to begin, we are taking a look at a video made by Jaclyn Glenn that is...
No, oh, yeah, I guess. I get so confused.
Yeah, this one's made, well...
This is Jaclyn
Glenn responding to...
of, yeah, a Paul and Morgan video.
A video by Paul and Morgan called Stop Living in Sin.
Exclamation mark, exclamation mark.
Well, actually, maybe. We don't know. The video that Jaclyn did is called Stop Living in Sin. We don't know what the original video that Paul and Morgan did is called because I'm sorry. I'm sorry, lady and or sir, if you watch this, but, like, we can't watch your channel. It's just... I don't want to be brainwashed.
It's a bit much.
And I mean, that's really the only purpose in anybody watching your channel, isn't it? To become brainwashed.
It's pretty culty.
It's pretty culty.
It's pretty culty.
So,
but not because of them specifically, because of the Christian thing. That's the culty
it's because
part,
of there's something playing through you guys. It's not you, necessarily. It's the spirit being channeled, which brings us to the point of dragging this into our current investigation on channeling and what we've dubbed the ANE, or the algorithm for negative engagement, the ANE, but also the anti-neutrality executive. Anybody who's familiar with computer programming will understand the reference there. So anyways, but
this is a few minutes in.
Morgan has tried to sing and failed, which is strange because she is actually an excellent singer. We'll get to that later on, but to set the precedent for the relationship in this rivalry, we're going to be taking a look at this video.
Recently, where basically Jesus was within me. Hot. This was like a different, it was like I could see Jesus' face through my face and I was like looking at me.
Like a Jesus manifestation.
Yes. Basically, I'm Jesus, like I have the Savior in me, so I am the Savior and Jesus' face is my face. I'm just that much of a Christian that I literally am sometimes just Jesus. And basically I was on the floor, or Jesus was in me on the floor.
That's hot.
And he was weeping, just weeping over someone who was close to me that was living in sin.
Okay, so not only is she having a dream where Jesus and her are one,
hot, the superimposed Jesus is actually crying over someone she knows personally because of how much they're sinning in my dream. And he was just weeping, and he was just saying, like, why? Why do you keep living in sin? Why do you keep separating yourself from me, from the Father? Take a step back for a second and imagine being that person and hearing this. Like, okay, so this Christian girl that I know had a dream about me where she kind of was Jesus and was just sobbing over how bad of a person I am. Yeah, that wouldn't be creepy at all. Also, let me know in the comments. I have this theory whenever I watch this video that they're kind of thinking of someone or people in general when they're talking about sin who are gay. I think her friend...
Yeah, they got a big thing against gay people, it seems, or LGBTQ people.
That popped up in another video that they did. They were answering a question. I don't know if somebody sent this to them or whatever, but if you have like a friend that's gay and they're gonna get married in like a gay wedding, should you attend the wedding? And so Paul and Morgan made this like long, like 40-minute video basically explaining that no, you shouldn't.
But yes, you definitely should, because that's where all the good drugs are going to be, in that reception.
Even if you're someone's friend, then possibly support them because they're just going to burn in hell and all this crazy shit. Anyway, I have a question that just popped up in my head just now when Morgan was explaining her super real Jesus dream, where she was, or I'm sorry, Jesus was saying, why are you living in sin? And that seemed to be a big focus, the why thing. But isn't there, I'm not 100% like super familiar with the Bible stuff, but isn't there a reason for sinning? Like, is it, if we go back to like origins of like Christianity, like does that have to do, I don't know, I just, it occurred to me that the sin part could serve a purpose, could it not?
Well, you could say that. What I want to make note of, firstly, I want to make note of some of the things in the background of their videos, just to consider the values in play when you're watching this. We have an endless staircase. We have the prominent letters of their names, P and M.
P and M, yeah.
We have Peter Pan. That's indicative of something. Any spotters watching, you should be able to pick these things out, and it's all going to come back to the cultist inference here, which my personal outlook, I feel for these two, Paul and Morgan, but
absolutely,
they're not the only ones at fault here. We're looking at you too, Jaclyn, but I just want to point out those values that are in play in the background of their videos.
You didn't mention my personal favorite poster in their background that says, I like naps.
I like naps, which is something else we get to.
And you, it says under. So, like, if you ever see, like, Paul, like, move out of the way, it says, I like naps. And you, so sweet.
Yeah.
Really, really sweet.
Where, actually, Morgan, I guess she speaks at times. We see somewhere later on in this video where Morgan speaks to laziness being her personal sin, that she's lazy, that she doesn't do enough work. Now,
good for her. You take your nap, girl.
Thing is, Morgan, you weren't lazy earlier on in your story, were you? No, you seem to get a hell of a lot done. In fact, you were doing pretty damn well for yourself.
Kind of shame.
Anyways,
I love Jaclyn's like little commentary. She cracks me up.
I want to say, though, that this thing with the Jesus dream, I mean, that's a pretty...
You buying it?
That's a hell of a creepy sort of... Like, if that's an actual dream that you had, especially if it's a recurring dream that you had, that's... I mean, you're really getting me here. That's some sad shit to have to endure and to have that kind of... Like, where does that come from? I'm wondering if maybe she thinks that that's, like, actual Jesus, like, visiting her in a dream. Because, well, I mean... sure he's out, but I mean, pretty sure Jesus is not really around or ever was.
I personally, just from the way that it sounds, and I don't mean this as like a dig at Morgan or whatever, she seems like a perfectly, nice girl, but I don't think that happened.
Yeah,
That's
it's
weird.
Probably
I mean,
bullshit, but
if your friend, like Jaclyn said, imagine being the person who she's telling this story to, that's like having coffee, and your friend's like, so last night I had this dream where I was Jesus, and I was weeping about all of your sins. So you gotta fix that up and make sure you stop doing that so that don't have to go. I don't know, is it like a prophetic thing where she's some kind of a prophet who's, supposed to be fixing people all over the place?
You know what? I don't. Let's say this, if you're having that dream, if you've actually had that dream, I mean, that's on so many levels of some measure of trauma and or indoctrination. And so, I mean, it's a bad sign in and of itself.
Indoctrination. That is indoctrination on top of
it's
indoctrination
terrible.
on top of indoctrination.
It's just terribly, like, that's such an awful experience on your part. So that's going to be a point against you on the merit of having the dream alone. Now, if you are lying about the dream, if that's bullshit and you made that dream up, that's going to be several points against you.
It's a little weird.
Either way.
Third possibility. Maybe it was some kind of like a vision, but she felt weird or embarrassed using that word, and so just kind of slipped the word dream in there instead.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interchangeable. You could go ahead and call anything a dream or a vision.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, that could be a broad
there's
thing,
there's
I
only
guess, but
one of two ways to be looking at it. Either it happened or it didn't. If it did, it's bad. If it didn't, it's worse. So that's that on that one.
It's pretty unusual.
Let's move along here.
That she's concerned about, or Jesus weeping over in her dreams, is someone who's gay, and she just knows that they're in sin and wants to save them, and she's just so sad that they won't be straight. You'll see what I mean the more of this video we watch, and why I think that that's what she's thinking of. And the reason I say that too is because I've reacted to so many of their videos before where they're extremely homophobic. They have a zero tolerance for gay, and they've even said in videos before, hey, if you have a friend that's getting married and they're gay, you shouldn't go, because if you go, you are, in a way, supporting their sinful lifestyle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and tell me if you think that they're hinting at someone they know or people in general that are gay. I think they are. But we're choosing to
also,
not use that.
guys, let us know what you fucking think in the comments. Like and fucking subscribe to the channel. I guess we have to do this like every time because people don't realize that there's a like button there. They forget about it.
I think everyone knows.
Like,
there.
if you dislike the video, dislike and subscribe and share the videos. Please get on board. Help Soul Mechanics grow here. I mean, I've ran into other channels who have so much lesser than us to offer and care so much less about their videos. And they're at like fucking 500 subscribers already. So will somebody please just do us a solid here and help us out. Anyways, let's skip ahead with this one. We're going to skip ahead to some of the points that we want to make here. So we'll be right back.
Both of them in this video, especially her, have this blank look in their eye and seem completely brainwashed. It does seem like the things that they're saying have a very culty vibe. The whole thing makes me pretty uncomfortable. Something about it just seems crazy.
For years, I lived in sin, and still to this day, I am coming out of sin or struggles that I have dealt with, and like having to really discipline myself.
But what bothers me about this is that she's spoken similarly in the past about people who are trans, people who are gay, people who are going through real things in their life that they're judged for every day for no good reason, and she's going to compare that struggle to her sin of being lazy.
For a really long time, I was just like being very lazy. Like
Literally things she's talking about a few weeks in her life where I seemed tired and I just didn't want to get out of bed and do work, but the Lord was like, girl, you shouldn't be lazy. Go out there and be motivated. Binge watching Netflix on the couch and being unproductive is not something you can compare to other people sinning by just being who they are, which is being gay. Like, you choosing to be lazy or you going through a period of feeling unmotivated, which, by the way, we've all been there, is something that you can actively fix. You cannot fix being gay, and I know she would disagree with me, but it's something that frustrates me because this comparison is so far off, and she's gonna use it to say, hey, if I can fix myself, so can you. I'm no longer binge watching Netflix, so you need to no longer be gay. Also, let's please not ignore the irony that there's a sign right behind her that says, I like naps. Come on.
Right, so what you will have just seen there is going to be Jaclyn mentioning Deadeye's culty vibe. That really... That's going to be my theory here, at least my hypothesis as regards this. I don't think that Paul and Morgan are really responsible for their thoughts or for much of what they're putting in here.
Probably not. I feel like they're kind of victims.
Yeah, it seems like, I think that it seems like they're kind of propped together, like maybe this was like an arranged marriage by whatever cult that they're involved in, and it's evident that they're involved in some cult influence because... A few essential values we'll need to have in play going forward. 1. It appears the video is skipping at times. I do apologize for that. It seems to be a glitch in the editing software, one of the editing software apps that we're using, the one we use to boost our volume actually. So, again, I apologize. It is duly noted, and we will attend to it appropriately in the future. B. Where I speak to these two being involved with a cult or cultist influence, of course, Christianity in and of itself, any modern proselyte religion stemming from that culture is a cult. In and of itself, in its entirety, it is a cultist influence. However, where I use the term cult here with these two, I'm meaning to say that it very much seems to be the case that these two, particularly Paul and Morgan, are very likely involved directly with some sort of a smaller kind of off-brand, you could say, cult, an actual, like, cult, or what modern society you'd think of as being a cult. And speaking, third, of off-brand, check this out. And yes, I'm advertising. I don't give a fuck if they want me to or not. I don't know who Millville is, but I'm advertising this shit. Peanut butter and jelly puffs. Are you kidding me? Get fucking real. A, speak louder. 2, some fucking Charles Manson shit. 3, Try that cereal, man. It's great. Cheap cereal is not bad cereal. It's just more cereal. Anyways, that is all. You may continue.
Obviously. I think that the calling it an arranged marriage might be a little bit too specific, but I do feel like there was influencing people, like some, pastor or whatever, church leader, church group, moms, dads, whoever, kind of maybe not arrange the marriage, but kind of push them together. They're the same age, they're adorable, whatever, and kind of pressured, I think, maybe them getting together a little bit.
Yeah, to give a hint at what's coming. Well, I'll clip in a little clip here of what happens actually at their wedding, and we can tell you flat out, whatever the case, this wedding, this marriage is definitely some Satan calendar shit. But, no, it's not... It's not like mediocre culty vibes. They're definitely being influenced by a cult.
Yeah, I think she's trying to kind of be nice about it. Yeah, because she doesn't want people to get mad at her or whatever.
We're not going to be nice
and so she uses, the word vibes, and she puts a Y at the end. It's culty, it's vibey. No. it's a cult
for
yes.
sure. And the way that their lives were altered, which I'd love to know more about Paul's life before. We don't know much about Paul's life before this, and the idea, generally speaking, that we get from some of what we've already seen here is Jaclyn getting across the idea that it seems as though they're both victims, and at times it seems as though Paul is kind of being led around by Morgan, who's kind of like this crazy person. But as we'll come to see later, there's a bit of a different aspect to this, and really we want to be speaking primarily to Morgan in this video, who seems to have discarded a lot of herself and her life to fit into the mold that this cult is presented.
In the clip, she specifically refers to some of her own personal
sins, yeah,
which is so sad to kind of hear the way that she's kind of vague about it. She doesn't really say, what the detailed, specific sins were or whatever, but I kind of have a feeling that the things that she's referring to are just innocuous. She's not talking about burying bodies and shooting horse and, stripping and doing porn. She's referring to, like, totally innocuous shit, like wearing eyeliner and dyeing your hair black and wearing a Guns N' Roses t-shirt.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure that if you were so confident about your faith and about Jesus and God, like, why wouldn't God love you with eyeliner on?
I'm pretty sure Jesus is supposed to love you and Guns N' Roses.
Exactly. Why would he stop because you don't listen to Christian music only? Or
she's
because
not talking about the kind of shit that we
talking about anything that's so serious.
You'd shit your pants at some of my sins, lady.
It's so sad though, because what a dumb thing. It's like, well, what I can't put on makeup,
and that's
or
just
else
it. Is
God
that
won't
it's
love
not
me
a
anymore.
dumb
Like
thing.
it's
we're gonna take
sad.
We're gonna take these so-called sins, where in the context of being indoctrinated into these cults, and we're gonna blow that shit out of proportion to the point where, say, having sex out of wedlock is eternal damnation. I mean, that's going to be a big one. Let alone,
but
like,
where on
wearing
that line?
eyeliner.
Exactly. Where on that line does, like, makeup fall under, like, singing music that's not Christian music?
Listening to good music.
Listening to music that's
not God
Christian
forbid
music.
You make a music video
with your, cute, like, punky hair and jewelry, and you know what I mean? Like, it's
pull somebody over and
it's really, really sad.
pull somebody over and arrest
them. It just made me sad that, I can kind of tell, she's never done anything crazy, obviously, so the things that she's talking about, she's struggling with, whether or not you're going to wear makeup sometimes.
And
like,
again, laziness. That's
weird,
the one that
man.
comes into play that she talks about is laziness, mind you. I love naps.
The naps
poster. So, yeah, that's what we have to say about the clip so far. And remember, this is just setting the precedent. This is showing you an example of the relationship as it's developed so far. That's not actually the big point. Although I do want to say, before we continue, I almost forgot, a shout out in case we don't get around to it to Brenda from God is Great. Madam, we love you. We're going to get around to you eventually. I've been promising you a video for a while. And also a shout out to the young lady I know from work, Crystal, in case she happens to be watching this, who I spoke with her about us plotting to do this before. I just want to say hello. I'm going to dedicate this video to you because, in fact, you are one hell of a sexy bitch.
In Jude 22, it says, "Be merciful to those who doubt. Snatch others from the fire and save them." Snatch, not a delicate, oh, come here, please. No, it's a wake up. Wake up!
In my last video, we talked about why people feel that religion is forced upon them, and this right here, what she just said, explains why so many Christians force their beliefs on people. It's because they are told through their education, through their, reading of the Bible, that if you don't forcefully push your beliefs onto other people, they will burn for all of eternity in hell.
All right, so allow us briefly to explain what is happening here.
Oh, you would have just watched this clip. So, I have a lot of thoughts on this. Basically, it kind of boils down to these people that are indoctrinated, and we're specifically talking about Christians. I know there's a lot of offshoots of Christianity, but we're kind of Catholic and Christian.
These utilities
That's who,
play
yes.
into all measures of indoctrination.
Yes.
The cultists are going to do this same thing in different forms.
Well, but it gets kind of specific here with the belief system, and so the thing that I find just appallingly,
Evident.
yeah, but it's also so selfish. So basically, there is a amount of, and I like Jaclyn used the word pressure, there's an amount of pressure, of responsibility, of fake power, and guilt associated with the way that, like Morgan said, it's your job to snatch from the fire the people that are going to be burned for eternity or whatever. So basically, we'll break it down. People in your life that you love and know, if they don't behave and act and believe in accordance with your beliefs, then they are wrong in some way, and it's your duty to basically save, not their lives, to save their eternity, to save their infinity. And I just can't get over how, this might be the wrong word, but it seems so fucking selfish to place yourself in such a position of, again, fake power over the well-being of all these people. And it's just, I can't get it. I can't wrap my head around it. It seems extremely selfish. Power to save, quote, save, and we're using save very loosely here because that doesn't, the definition of it doesn't really matter. It's just talking about what their belief system is. But to put yourself in such a position over everyone, and then you get all of the responsibility and the power, and if it doesn't work, you also get all of the guilt for not being able to save these people, which, whether or not you feel guilty, you're still putting yourself in this position of fake power, and it's still selfish. Mm-hmm. Even when it makes you feel bad, it's still selfish. It's incredibly conceited to believe that.
It's
right?
incredibly damaging, but let's draw it out to the logical conclusion of it, taking it a step further. What does this effectively do? You're placed in a position wherein you are essentially
the decider.
Enforced this or imposed upon you is this sense of responsibility that's impossible. It's a mandate that you are. You have no
actual.
There's nothing
influence.
you can do about this.
Right.
You're dead in the water, and you're gonna give up, just like everybody inevitably gives up. I mean, ultimately, either you're gonna realize religion's a fraud, that this is a cult, or you're gonna just buckle under the weight of this responsibility. In either case, what you're forced to do by enacting this procedure, I mean, in order to there's no measure by which you can operate to this level of efficiency.
No,
it's a losing game, and ultimately what you're going to have to do is go ahead and forfeit your responsibility. Either you give up the cult because you realize it's bullshit, or you give up your sense of responsibility, thereby accepting this ultimate guilt, placing yourself in an eternal damnation. In either case,
the outcome is the same.
If you're a rational, logical person, if you care for yourself, you're going to forfeit the religion. You're going to forfeit your responsibility along with it, just as you forfeit all understanding of spirituality in and of itself, along with it, all associations that are attached to this cultist influence, the indoctrination designed to cause for you to forfeit your very sense of responsibility, your sense of self.
I see where you're going with this. And thus, atheists are made.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it's like a...
And you are effectively indoctrinated into being an atheist.
The the most likely outcome, because you hear it all the time, people that are, indoctrinated from a young age always end up being, against that. And
if they become an atheist and they become this wave of new age atheist activists.
Because basically they're pissed.
And
which anyone would be.
It's understandable.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely understandable, but the thing is that it's understandable because the trap is set that way. That's how it works. That's what it would do. And here you are, atheists, living in that trap. And
or you're just a guilty mess of a person that can't function, but like you said, buckles under the pressure of being responsible for all these poor souls.
You're a lost puppet on the strings of religion,
thinking that everyone around you is a slave to your influence, right? You can fix all of their eternities, but really you're the slave.
You'd have to be a terribly conceited, narcissistic son of a bitch to actually, operate in this manner.
Or to teach other people to operate in that manner.
It says, like she said, it's snatching people out of the flames. In order to salvage their souls, you have to snatch them out of the flames. Now, I will go ahead and state, at least just for myself, not on behalf of anybody else, but I'm willing to accept the responsibility of being that narcissistic, conceited son of a bitch and say, lady, that's what we're trying to do for you, Madam Morgan and Madam Jaclyn. Snatch you out of those fucking flames. You are in.
I don't.
Problem is, I'm not going to feel guilty if you don't, because I'm a narcissistic, conceited son of a bitch.
Everybody's got their thing.
To continue.
More of this sitting idly by while our friends and loved ones are walking in this sin, and we're just kind of like, oh, I'm not going to judge them.
I'm not going to judge them. No, you should judge them. Judging people is good, because if you judge them and they know it, then they won't be sinners and then they won't go to hell. This is actually how they think.
Oh, it's between them to work out. No, we have a responsibility, as the word says right here. Snatch others from the fire and save them. Show mercy mixed with fear. Hating even the clothing stained by corrupted flesh.
Sit in that fucking corner, bitch.
Fear, yes, you should always be in fear of God. Now, so many people try to twist that and say, God is a forgiving God. You shouldn't be afraid of him because he just forgives everything all the time. That's not actually what the Bible says. The Bible explains God as a pretty vengeful God, as a pretty angry God, which is something that you should be afraid of.
There's got to be some level of contention here between the idea presented by the Bible that judge not, lest you be judged. Yet,
what happened to that?
Stating that it's pretty much your priority to be
the
judging
ultimate
people,
judge and decider.
Judging people from your perspective as though you are the arbiter of what's right and wrong.
Yeah, how do you prioritize one of those beliefs over the other? Because they're both in the Bible or whatever, right? You either don't judge people or you judge them and make them fear you in order to save their eternal soul. So which one do you pick?
And also operate in fear. Be a God-fearing, be prideful in your sense of being a God-fearing Christian.
It's a point of pride.
I'm going to say here, in case, Paul and Morgan are aware, they probably don't know anything about soul mechanics, but I am a theist. I am a hardcore theist. I believe in an existing God, or the concept of God. I believe in deity. I believe that we are one with it. It's not something that I would ever be afraid of. I'm sure it can kick my ass, but the God that you believe in, there's good reason to be afraid of, because your God is not a loving God. Your concept of a God, your characterized fictional deity is a terrifying monster. And so you have reason to be afraid of it, because it's going to judge and damn you, and thus...
Well, not even that.
By following its example, following suit, you go ahead and judge and damn.
But that's not the only thing, though. There are a lot of other kind of holes in this story. So if this God is so loving, there are millions of children that die every minute.
Well, they went to heaven.
In Afghanistan and in Middle Eastern countries.
Yeah, they go to heaven.
But no, because they haven't accepted Jesus into their hearts, so how do they go to heaven? They haven't been baptized in a Christian church because they live in, you know,
they
in
don't go to heaven.
Afghanistan
No, the
or
ones
whatever.
in Afghanistan, and especially like the Muslims and such, anybody who's born into the wrong faith goes to hell.
Yeah, but I'm talking about people that aren't. I'm not referring to people that are, you know, evil, scary terrorists or whatever. I'm talking about little children
Yes,
who have never had a
they
chance
were born into the wrong
to
faith.
change or to accept or to be baptized or whatever, and your God says,
You're all going to hell.
sorry, you lucked out. You were born on the wrong part of the world,
Yeah,
and so
you go
you're
to
going to
hell,
burn and
and
be tortured for
and
eternity,
I mean-
which means that your God either is evil or doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, and I mean, you might want to take into consideration there that under the paradigm or the context in which you are operating, Morgan, Paul, you guys are personally at fault for every one of those. Okay, spotters, so I do apologize for the exceptionally late delivery and this cutoff here, but we're going to have to ring the bell on this one and leave it on a cliffhanger until round 2 because the editing is just terribly overwhelming. It's the first time I've actually put a lot of effort into editing things. We had to collect the clips and all, you know, dive through everything we went over, get all the material that's relevant in some way or another, and put it all together. It's just, it's really difficult for anybody who ever badmouthed tubers, you know, said that they're not really doing work. Those who are actually putting effort into this, they're doing a fuck ton of work. Of course, there are a lot out there that aren't, and we'll be addressing them later, but for now, we're going to get into the serious shit in round 2. We'll leave this one on a cliffhanger with Paul in a timeout and Ladyboy Adelaide in the bag, and we'll pick this up when I can finish the editing. Hopefully it'll go a lot smoother and faster than this first one did. I'm sure that it will. Don't worry. We'll get to it soon enough, but until then, thank you all for attending. There's a fuck ton of value here. There's replay value in these videos now with the editing in play. There's a hell of a lot to be unpacked here if you go and rewatch it. As I've been trying to get across, there are layers to this. We'll introduce that aspect soon enough, but until then, try rewatching it. An important value for us to have in play, just going into the next episode, and for anybody who rewatches this one, make note that nobody's getting any points here, are they? You're only losing them, aren't you? Anyways, Keelah Salai, Dariuni Siari, Namaste.